All right, so our next topic here is the Munsters movie. That's right, the new Munsters movie, which came out on Netflix recently. And let's just say maybe coming on Netflix was probably for the best of it because people have not taken very kindly to this. Heck, they never took kindly to it when it was first announced, first teased, and everything. And I think the reason was because of the fact that you know, it wasn't the Munsters to them. It wasn't the Munsters. It was the Munsters, but it was more of an origin story to them. It was like it took a while for them to even get to them being a family in the film. From what people have said, to where it just still did not feel like the Munsters because it was too. I guess you could say too campy for its own good. Now, the original show was not to say the original show wasn't campy or anything, but to them this felt too cartoony. And look, the Munsters have had cartoons before. They had the mini Munsters, which focused on the kids and all that. But that was it. And of course, they had a few, feature films and everything, even direct-to-television films. But it always stayed true to what the Munsters were about. This one by Rob Zombie, yeah, it is a family film, there's no doubt. But a lot of people feel it was more cartoony than it should be. I mean, I even looked up and I said, okay, the way Lily Munster acts in this, very cartoony like, does she melt? Going back to the lustful melt thing I said about Velma, and nothing came up. Because I'm thinking, well, you got Rob Zombie, he's creative. Would he put that slapstick trope in there? Doesn't look like he did, but maybe he came close to it. I don't know. But, yeah, people were not really fond of this film. I mean, some, like James Rolfe, did find positives, like with the guy that plays Herman. He found some positives in there, basically making a comparison to Jim Carrey and how Jim Carrey would take on a role that's comedic and stuff and really just go to town with it. He made that comparison and stuff, and he basically James's thing is if you're a fan of the Munsters, this is not the movie for you. But if you just want maybe a different interpretation that you could just say is like another world or whatever, alternate timeline, alternate universe, James's what's the word I'm looking for? Processes or prognosis, yeah. James's prognosis is, if you want an alternate version, alternate timeline, universe version of the Munsters, then this one is gonna fit your fancy. But if you want something that stays true to the original, this is not gonna do it. Now they do have elements apparently that pay homage, to the original, which is great, but obviously it's not enough. It's not enough for people to be like, ooh, I like that, I'm cool with that, and all that. It's more along the lines of, they just don't care for it, period. They don't care for it, period. So yeah, the Munsters, look, if this was, Rob Zombie's love letter to them, I don't blame him for trying his best. Honestly, I don't. But I think this is an example of, people are just, getting to that point of, they're sick and tired of reboots. Or they're sick and tired of different interpretations that try to take something in a different direction. And now, I don't know if the Munsters has crossed that line to where, people are going to be like, enough. But, it's just one of those films to where, as soon as the trailer and the teasers came out for it, it's like, yeah, this ain't gonna work, this ain't gonna be good. And, putting it on Netflix, like I said, was probably the best option because the original idea, was for it to be a theatrical film, but obviously they saw the writing on the wall as soon as, like, the first teaser came out, and they're like, this ain't happening, we need to go this direction, and, thankfully they did. But yeah, I'll give credit where it's due to Rob Zombie. He did his best. The people they got to portray the characters, did what they could. They tried to make it feel familiar, from what I understand, but I just think it was just too cartoony and campy for the own good, for people to truly enjoy it. Now, does that mean nobody will enjoy it? I'm not saying that. There's probably people that love it. There's probably people that feel it's one of the funniest movies, they've seen, and that's saying something. And maybe there's some diehard Munster fans out there that like it too, because it's just another interpretation of the characters. But the overall diagnosis on it is basically, if you're a fan of the original and hoping this might stay true to it, it's not going to be for you. But if, like I said earlier, what I said earlier, I was trying to say, I'm trying to think about what I was going to say here. My mind almost went blank there. But like what James's prognosis was, if you're not a fan of it, it's not going. If you're not if you're a fan, excuse me, let me move on. Okay. Just based on James's prognosis, like I said earlier, if you're a fan of the Munsters, this is not going to be for you. But if you're curious as what an alternate universe version of them would be, and maybe you're interested in maybe someone's interpretation of how Lily and Herman met, this might be for you. So, overall though, yeah, I think when it comes to people like Rob Zombie or anybody trying to reboot a classic 60s series like the Munsters or whatever, nowadays, you need to be more careful about how you do it. You need to be more careful about how you do it. Like, if you're going to do it, keep it as the way people know it. Don't try to origin it. Just keep it the way it is, in my opinion. Just keep it the way it is and go from there. And I think the other thing that really pissed a lot of people off about it, or gave them a mixed reaction to it, is there's no Eddie and there's no Marilyn. Where are they? How do they come into the forte later on? We don't know. But if Rob Zombie has any intentions of doing a sequel, well, Rob, if you're going to do a sequel, make sure the sequel makes up for what this was, so that people could be like, okay, that was just a pilot. This is the true Munsters movie we want. So, we'll see what happens. But, yeah, nobody particularly liked it, apparently. It was, again, I'm not saying nobody did. People probably did, but a majority of, the agreement is, yeah, this wasn't good. This wasn't good, and, they need to do better. And if, like I said, Rob's intention is to do a sequel, a follow-up, then that's probably going to be looked at. If it's done correctly and as a way to make up for what this was, people will look at that sequel, I should say, as basically the true Munsters film and not this one. They'll look at more like this is a test pilot or something. But yeah, Munsters didn't do very well, and that's all I can say on this topic. Let me know what your guys' thoughts are down below in the comment section. And now on to the next topic.